Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are. Welcome to a power packed episode today of Sherry and Timber Talk. As you see, we have a full house, a lot of guests on board. So, yeah, we are really excited about this one because this topic is kind of the talk of the town. And off late, there's been a lot that has been said about it. And in fact, it's been there for a long, long time in the game. And we just thought, why not discuss it and get different perspectives and also understand, how the world sees the specific incident of Mankading or run out is for you to decide. So welcome Bhash Mankad, who is joining us from Ahmedabad today in India. And Bhash, I believe you are closely related with the Mankad family.
Yes, so Ashok Mankad was is my paternal uncle, and Vino Mankad was his father. So my grandfather's first cousin was
Mhm.
Vinoo Mankad, and they grew up together in the same house in Jamnagar, where Vinoo
Amazing.
is from. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So really happy to have you on this show, especially for this topic. I know you have a lot of insights to share on this. And we have our guest Annie Chave from London. Annie, so good to have you back on the show once again.
It's lovely to be back on the show as well. I see some friendly faces.
Yeah, awesome. So Annie is the director and editor of County Cricket Matters. It's a wonderful magazine which covers county cricket in depth. So if you guys are there in the UK or anywhere in the world, you could even order an online copy. If I'm not wrong, Annie.
You are completely right. It's online, definitely, yes.
Awesome. Amazing. Amazing. Great to have you back, Annie. Cool. And we have our usual suspects, Mahesh and Yogesh. So, cool. So I think, before we start the show, we'll probably just have a keen look at the law, about the law of what we are talking about. So this is what the initial law was, 41.16. If the non-striker is out of his or her ground from the moment the ball comes into play to the instant where the bowler would normally have been expected to release the bowler is permitted to attempt to run him or her out. Whether the attempt is successful or not, the ball should not count as one in the over, which is interesting. And if the bowler fails in an attempt to run out this non-striker, the umpire shall call and signal dead ball as soon as possible. So this is the initial law. And just hold on once, for a second, because there was another amendment which was made to this law, and this is interesting. So this is made in 2017 by the MCC. So they have not changed the law per se, or in terms of completely removing it or making a huge amendment, but they've just made one correction. Initially, it was about to the point wherein they come to the delivery stride, but now they made it to would be expected to deliver the ball. So the bowler, when he's expected to deliver the ball, till that moment he could do this. So that is very, very interesting. And again, I read somewhere that this was made because of the way the game has changed. It's now a game of inches. There's a lot of television in the game. The runouts are monitored, inch by inch. So, that's why this amendment was made. So obviously, there's a lot of things that have changed from the first incident which happened. And obviously, I don't want to harp about that because we have Bhash, and who would give us a really good rundown on what happened there. So, Bhash, over to you.
Yes. So I'll just briefly sort of recollect that incident that took place. I mean, there's absolutely no offense taken. So Vinoo Mankad had, in fact, in the first. So this took place in the second test of India's tour of Australia. Vinoo Mankad had, in fact, warned Will Brown for running because he had a short delivery stride, and then he get Will Brown because Don Bradman had scored tons of runs. And invariably, since Vinoo Mankad was bowling from one end non-stop, he would ensure that on the last or the penultimate ball, Bill Brown would run and ensure that Bradman was on strike for the next over, or Keith Miller. I mean, a lot of good Australian batsmen. So I think it's the second test where Vinoo Mankad had now the famous act of Mankading had run him out or Mankaded him, as we would like to call it. And that's where even Lala Amarnath stood by him because he was the captain of the team and felt that there was nothing wrong. And although the Australian press did go hammer and tongs, and of course, that time there was a very small Indian contingent, press contingent, if it all then. If we just gained independence and so he was castigated, and there was a lot of uproar in the media, in the Australian media, for this action. But Vino Mankad, the person that he stood by his. He never ever apologized. He felt what he did was absolutely right under the circumstances, and he scored 2 centuries. Not many people know that he thereafter scored 2 centuries in the next 3 Test matches, and he opened the batting. So he performed quite well. So I think it's spurred him up also to do well. And as famously Don Bradman in his book and Ray Linwood, both of them who were a batsman and a bowler in the Australian team, defended this action. So I think it's a perfectly legitimate mode of dismissal, if you ask me. I mean, we all talk about how the bowlers are being cheeky, but nobody actually talks about how wrong it is on the batsman's part to take a step. In a 22-yard pitch, even every inch matters. So even a small step would,
Interesting.
Really.
Yeah. So interesting. You also mentioned about the Australian press, and I think we were discussing off air about how this incident was similar to the 2008, series when we came back, come back in Perth, and so it looks like the Australian press brings out the best in the Indian team most of the time. Awesome. So yeah, interesting. I mean, before I come to Annie, you mentioned about Sir Don Bradman's view. So for the viewers, I'll just put this up. So this is what he mentioned. For the life of me, I cannot understand why, he wrote in his book. The laws of cricket make it quite clear that the non-striker must keep within his ground until the ball has been delivered. If not, why is the provision there which enables the bowler to run him out? And he also mentioned about Mankad. He says that Mankad was an ideal type, and he was also scrupulously fair. First of all, he warned Brown before taking any action, and there was absolutely no feeling in the matter as far as we are concerned, for we considered it quite legitimate as part of the game. So that's the Bradman view. So Annie, over to you, because I know you have an interesting perspective on this.
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing is, the main thing is, it is in the laws of cricket. It's absolutely a law. So therefore, it has to be a law, and it has to be an option. So yes, it's legitimate. Of course, it's legitimate. But and it also does that thing of like you were explaining. It prevents the batsman coming down the wicket, which is a form of cheating. So yes, my only reservation would be that it should necessarily be a wicket. So I know that Ashwin, for example, has said things like there should be an option for what is it, a free ball rather than a free hit. Where the bowler gets to bowl at this batsman, and they can't make any runs, but they could legitimately be out. Or penalty runs or something like that. It just seems it seems like a very harsh thing to happen. But having said that, it is a law, and if it's a law, then it needs to stay, and it needs to be upheld.
Interesting. How do you feel, Mahesh?
So here's an example that I would want to give you. Now, a batsman is batting. He's standing outside the crease. Okay. He misses the ball. He's stumped. I mean, it's as simple as that. You're standing outside the wicket, outside the crease. So, and you know very well that if the bowler whips off the bails, you're out. You have to stand behind. See, even a couple of inches can make a lot of difference, right?
Yeah.
If you're taking a very tight single, so it goes to the batsman's advantage. My thing is that anyway, the match is the game is heavily loaded in favor of the batsman. So any small opportunity the bowler gets, I think he should make the most of it. To me, it's within the laws of the game. So I think I'll go ahead and, I would not hesitate to say that the bowler is completely right.
And therefore, it should be a wicket.
It should be a wicket, yeah.
Yogesh, what about you?
First and foremost, I was wondering, why has this topic even come up at this moment? What was the relevance of it? I mean, Ashwin being in the same team as Ricky Ponting, coaching it, and Ricky Ponting wanting the team to play in a certain spirit and taking Mankading out of the equation, etc. I'm like, hold on for a moment. Ricky Ponting, of all the people, is talking about spirit of cricket here.
that defines 2020 for you. A lot of weird things happening, man.
I mean, with due respect, I respect Ponting as a batsman. But Ponting trying to impose on people about what should be the spirit and law of the cricket is just not on. Because you can have an argument if somebody was trying to play against the laws of the game, and then if you come in and say I don't want my players to play in an illegal or unlawful sort of a way, I can understand that. So when you bring spirit into the equation, I didn't quite get it. The other thing is also this entire aspect of whether bowler should give the batsman a warning of sorts. I mean, why is that necessary? Like when they say these are the things you're taught as a schoolboy, and then if you don't follow that, and if you skip out of that crease when the bowler hasn't even bowled the ball, that's a rookie mistake, my friend. And then just as a bowler, sometimes inadvertently they say the line belongs to the umpire, and the fraction, a millimeter, can get you a no ball and a free.
I think actually, like you're saying, I think it adds to the confusion of not actually making it a wicket, because you're saying it's not very clear, and so you're muddling it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, it's simple. The moment the bowler releases the ball, go out of the crease, do what you like. That's all right. But if he's not delivered it, what business do you have of leaving that crease? And so, taking the law, trying to bring that spirit into the conversation and just confusing everybody around is actually doing a disservice. So in this case, I'd say Ponting is actually doing the game a disservice by bringing into conversation something that doesn't need to be brought into conversation. As clear as that.
And you know what, Yogesh, it's interesting because I actually saw the video in which Ponting was having the discussion about the same topic. So he agrees to it that this is cheating. Okay. He actually mentions that this is wrong. It should not be done. But again, he has a similar view with Annie, when you mentioned that whether it should be a wicket or no, it's something which is debatable and he doesn't want it to be a wicket. But my question here is, Annie, it's like agreeing that a person has committed a crime, but you don't want to put him in jail. Instead, ask him to pay a bribe and get away with it, right? So, or pay a fine and get away with it.
Penalty runs.
So, I mean, and again, this penalty run business can also become very, very, subjective.
Contentious. Right? Contentious too.
Exactly, right? So, imagine if this is a test match, right? And if this is the last pair batting, and if the non-striker is the regular batsman, if the tailender is on the other end, right? He might be willing to take a chance, right? If they want to save the game, he might think that the bowler is not going to Mankad him and, or run him out, if I could
run him out.
So, he might be able to take that risk, right? So, even if he's docked, say, 5 penalty runs, if he's playing for a draw, it doesn't matter, right? So, he just wants to get on the other end so that he could save the game. So all these things are making the game more subjective, instead of having it in black and white.
Absolutely. It's interesting that in the last Test series we've been doing in England with Pakistan, we're now having the no ball called by the third umpire. I wonder if there's something along those lines that where if they're showing the line, you can show that the batsman's out of his crease as well now.
Yes,
exactly right. Yep. Yeah, in fact, when the entire Yogesh, I just wanted to add one point. When the entire Ashwin Butler controversy happened, so initially my reaction was also a little negative towards it because of the fact that I initially thought that Ashwin took a longer pause to kind of run him out.
He did seem to, definitely.
Yeah, but then when I saw the entire over again, right, when they showed the replays of all the 5 balls in that over, and there was a clear case of Butler trying to take I wouldn't say take an advantage, but he was actually wandering outside the crease, and this happened with Butler before as well. So obviously, you could call him a repeat offender. So this
very unlucky.
Or unlucky, yeah. But the point is that it's not that it was a one-off incident wherein Ashwin just thought, okay, let me try something different, but it was actually there because of the fact that this was repeatedly happening. Right. So again, so the law was brought into the aspect for this reason itself, right? That if somebody is doing it repeatedly, then there's a clear case of running him out. So sorry, you were saying something.
And you don't have to do it repeatedly. If you just see the batsmen casually wandered out, you can run them out. And with Ashwin, I think he's been somebody who's kind of changed his bowling action and the way he delivers, etc., quite a few times. So why are we placing the onus of, let's say, being gentlemanly on the bowler when the batsman can do switch hits and do all kinds of things on the batting crease? So I'm just thinking that I think just a wee bit too much is being asked of the bowlers. So long as it's fair within the laws of the game. I think it should be straight, open and shut case. And Annie, on the aspect of that line. Now let's imagine what would actually put a stop to this. Imagine if the batsman has a habit of slightly coming off the crease when the bowler's bowling it, right? If the bowler and now because they are looking at cameras to look at if it was a no ball, etc. All, if at the same time it is seen that the non-striker had also stepped out of the crease or had dragged his bat outside the crease, and hence it's not a no ball, many a batsman will now start staying back in the creases if they know that a no ball stands to be negated if they've also sauntered out of that crease.
It's definitely
so no penalty runs, but a deterrent.
Agree. That's an interesting view.
But Venu, let me tell you, in IPL 2020, if Ashwin is bowling, make no mistake, nobody will get out of the crease. Whether Ricky Ponting has a word with him or not, nobody will want to take a chance with him.
And I don't think Butler would wander down the pitch either.
Butler will be the last person to even think of doing it.
I think now one of the great contests would be Ashwin versus Butler, but not when he's batting, when he's at the receiving, and when he's at the non-striker end.
One point that I wanted to make, Bill Brown, when my uncle Rahul Mankad, actually, who was also a first-class cricketer, met Bill Brown before he passed away. Like Bill Brown also had no complaints. He also mentioned that what I had done was wrong and there was no breach of the spirit of the game. And Vinoo Mankad was fair because he had warned me, and yet I did act sneaky. So even Bill Brown was fair enough to say that. And one more thing, if when a striker hits a ball straight, a straight drive, and even a small part of a fingernails of a bowler, or we call it a run out, and it is an unfortunate mode of dismissal, but it's still fair, right?
And most of the time it's unintentional, right?
Unintentional, exactly. So the bowler just has a small grip, or sometimes it just hits the shin of the bowler and it's the stump. So that I think is more unfortunate for a batsman as compared to a batsman leaving the crease when the bowler is in the delivery stride.
Agree.
So
I wanted to ask you a question, Mankad. The whole thing about it being called a mankading, does it really upset the family and you, or does it actually, is it quite a kudos thing, or would you prefer he was well known for his massive opening partnership?
Yes. I think what has happened due to this, the fact that its mode of dismissal is called Mankading, is that a lot of focus has gone away from Vinoo Mankad, the cricketer that he was. And it's unfortunately only dealt with that famous or infamous mode of dismissal. But as we say, I would say that Vinoo Mankad was a man of many firsts. He was way ahead of his time. As you know, in the famous test versus England, he had a tiff with Colonel C.K. Naidu. Because he was not picked, there is a backstory to it, which I'll very briefly mention. Vinoo Mankad had lost a child and his first wife when he was very young during the First World War. So he had a very young family to take care of. He had a lot of personal trials and tribulations in his life. So he had a young family to take care of, and so he went to C.K. Naidu when he was 31, where it was he was called by Lancashire to play in the county. And Colonel C.K. Naidu, and he told him that I will not take this contract provided I'm assured to play for India, because he was the only slow left arm all-rounder. So it was a given that he would play. And C.K. Naidu had clearly told him off, put him off, or he had refused to give any guarantee. So for which Vinoo Mankad had already visited England, and India was thrashed in the first test quite rapidly. And the manager paid peacemaker, and C.K. Naidu had famously commented, "We'll have a dozen Vinoo Mankads." And that's when Vinoo Mankad had driven down from somewhere in the north of England to London. He'd reached in the morning of the test match, in the famous test match. He'd reached in the morning, opened the innings, scored 72, bowled, I think 40 odd overs, taken 5 wickets, and in the next innings, in close to 6 hours in a day, he had scored 184, which is which only 5 hours, right? As a and against, I think the best, one of the best English bowling attack which was there at the time, and then he also flicked 3 wickets in the next inning. I don't think there has been ever a performance, all-round performance in a Test match, an opening batsman scoring close to 256 runs and taking 6 or 7 wickets. I don't think that feat has been
not a bad record, is it?
Yes. Nobody talks about that record, so that's unfortunate.
Amazing that you brought that out. Yeah, exactly, right. So I mean, and that's one of the reasons why this entire controversy which is created by the former players or current players or the media, it kind of takes a lot away from the game. We start focusing on the negatives or the not so important factors, and kind of the attention is taken away from the action which is happening in the middle. So that's one of the reasons why I feel it's too much is being made out of this dismissal, this mode of dismissal. And it's what would be interesting to see is in this entire Ponting and Ashwin controversy, will Ashwin actually hold his ground and play as per his ideals or his ethos or ideologies, or will he toe the line of the team and say that, okay, if you're not doing this as a team, I won't do this. So that would be quite interesting, because it's quite a tussle between what the coach wants you to do and what you want to do, right? So that's something which is pretty interesting to see.
How many times does a batsman walk back to the pavilion when he edges and the umpire doesn't give him out?
Right, spirit of the game is not
the spirit of the game there?
Exactly, right.
And somebody like Ricky Ponting, he doesn't walk the talk. There are many times he's not the guy who believes in the sportsman spirit to the T, right?
Yeah, we won't talk about the Australians about fair play.
Yeah, they don't go along well, right?
So what, Ali? When Broad did that in England in 2013, I was like, yeah, that's it, you got it back.
There's two things I want to say on this. One is when you said, will Ashwin go on and play along with what he thinks is the right way of playing and things. First thing is, it's not that Ashwin has been going to find that way of dismissal.
Exactly, right.
It's when you see somebody blatantly doing it time and again, you're like, okay, I've seen enough of this now, so I'm going to run you out. Okay, that's one. So he's not going for that mode of dismissal as such, for him to kind of change the way he plays or something like that. Second thing is, assuming that Ashwin and Ponting are part of new setup, my question is going to be, as a coach, do you want to breach a topic like this before you started playing the tournament? What would you, as a coach, have your priority when you're getting into a new setup? You're actually going to talk about things that everybody agrees on, inspires, and things like that. So I feel, is this more like Ponting actually committing a double fault of sorts well before the match has even started?
Are you trying to get a job as a coach? I think you're very motivational.
I think I agree with you. So it's kind of creating a rift of sorts within the team itself, if you ask me. I mean, obviously I'm not a coach to comment on this, but then I agree with you, Yogesh, in terms of the thinking and the media hype is going towards some other direction, right? Compared to what the game is happening in the middle. So that's interesting. And Mahesh, to your point as well, and even Yogesh, right? You mentioned if he's looking for that mode of dismissal, consider this a T20 game, right? And I'll take your memory back to the 2016 T20 game, World Cup game between India and Bangladesh, right? And somebody famously tweeted last year when this Ashwin controversy happened with Butler. So, or not controversy, the incident happened with Butler. So somebody tweeted that, the run out that Mahendra Singh Dhoni did in the in that over for the last ball, right, with that Bangladesh batsman. Imagine if the non-striker was backing up, he would have gained 2 inches, right?
That's exactly what I was correct.
Exactly. Absolutely. Right. So it's a game of inches, right? So what if it's not monitored, or if there is no penalty, or if there is no repercussion towards what the non-striker is doing, right? The non-striker might as well stand right next to the striker, right? So it's like there has to be something in black and white. There cannot be gray areas.
Even if he's out by an inch, if he's gone
Yeah.
outside the crease, even by an inch,
Yep.
he should be run out.
Yeah.
I mean,
And in fact, to answer your question, Yogesh, in those situations, I wouldn't even mind the bowler looking for that mode of a dismissal, right?
Yeah.
Because the batsman or the non-striker is actually trying to win the game by an unfair advantage, right?
I
Correct.
think that incident did take place in the Under-19 World Cup in, I think, West Indies. I think it was a semi-final against Bangladesh, if my memory serves me right.
Yep.
And that is where it did take place in.
Yep.
And just one small point that I wanted to make is that it's as we have discussed, it's always the onus on the bowler. But when the bowler, as we played cricket, all of us have played. When the bowler is actually bowling in the delivery stride, and when he sees the non-striker running, it does disturb him because it's in the eye line. When your focus is on the batsman, right? If there's somebody as fidgety as Steven Smith, then even more so. So then, when your eye line, you want to focus on the ball, on the wicket, and the stump. The moment you see a non-striker acting funny and running out of the crease, it puts you off as the bowler, particularly if you're a pace bowler. Ashwin may have a short delivery strike, but it does put you off as a bowler. I think that aspect is also one thing that we have to think about. That for the bowler, the moment that guy is doing mischief in a sort of a knockout last over scenario, as we spoke about the 2016 World Cup, I think it puts you off as a bowler. So that's also one aspect that we could share and talk
You
about.
think something, Yogesh?
But the other thing is, I'll be a very worried man if my bowler isn't focused on the batsman he's bowling to and is focused on non-striker. I think some bowlers, the way they run in, they may have a better view of what the non-striker is doing, as against some other bowlers who are probably running in a channel and trying to bowl a channel. In that case, it's almost like somebody who's standing at the mid wicket or probably looking from extra cover, that kind of a place, might actually alert the bowler saying, this batsman is skipping out, so keep your eye on. Otherwise, I actually do not foresee a bowler being able to see when the non-striker is sauntering out of the crease. I don't foresee that unless his action has permitted him that view or somebody's alerted him of that.
So when a spin bowler bowls behind the stumps, just giving you an example,
Yeah.
it's quite natural that the non-striker will be in his eye line, right? So you are bound to, when there is a movement.
I'm just going back to the ground and trying to imagine when I am bowling. I don't think it's easy for the bowler to notice how far non-striker is going down.
I'm just saying it acts as a distraction. I'm not talking about. It just acts as a distraction.
Oh well,
The other point I'd like to make is that this is going to happen more and more as the game gets faster and the white ball becomes more prevalent. It's not, obviously it first happened with in a test match, but it is much more of as the vital seconds in T20 happen, then this is something that will be needs to be looked at, and it needs to be absolutely confirmed. Otherwise, there's just going to be this argument going around forever as the game gets faster and faster.
Yep, and I think if I'm not wrong, I may be wrong here as well. In baseball, you have a similar incident, right, wherein a guy who is trying to steal a base, right, by running out even before the pitcher has pitched, and I think there you have a provision to kind of run him out, right? So why not in cricket, right? Because it's a similar thing. So that's kind of a similarity between the two sports. But in cricket, it's looked upon as unsportsmanlike, but whereas in baseball, it's within the laws of the game.
That's because baseball's American, and this is a classy game.
It's also to do with the fact that in baseball you have to compulsory run, right? If I'm not mistaken, when the pitcher throws, I think it's compulsory that the runner has to run. So
change the basis.
But then sometimes it happens even before he pitches, right? So it's again a similar rule wherein when you say delivery stride, when you say the moment where they are trying to pitch the ball, so it's kind of pretty similar. But then they have a provision to kind of change direction and throw in the direction of the the guy who's running. So again, that's kind of quite similar. So
that is smart.
It is smart,
That is smart. But in cricket, if you do it, it's not smart. It's cheating.
Dinesh Karthik has also defended Ashwin. I think there was.
I think both the Kartiks have defended Ashwin, Murli Kartik and Dinesh.
Murli Karthik.
Yeah. So I think Annie, if I'm not wrong, Murli Kartik did it in one of the games in county cricket. A few years back.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do remember hearing about it, but I don't know much more about it. But yeah. I mean, it does happen. But it's a rare thing, though, isn't it? I mean, it happened in a under-19 games, didn't it?
That's right.
I'm a little concerned that it's happening at that stage, because it feels like they've got so much to learn without trying to look at the not on strike batsman. But there you go.
Yeah, interesting. So again, I think on that under-19 incident, probably Ian Bishop had a very interesting perspective about the kids having awareness about the laws of the game. So that was also an interesting perspective, right?
Yeah.
So many people look at it differently, but again, the whole idea of having this discussion was around getting the stigma out of this mode of dismissal.
I think the main thing is it is a law, so it has to be upheld.
Yeah, and I think what was interesting was not just the original law, but the amendment made in 2017 by the MCC, which clearly states that it's not unlawful or against the spirit of the game anymore, because it's a game of inches. So
Ponting has to take it with MCC, not with Ashwin.
Yes.
And I think Sean Pollock in the first T20 World Cup famously commented that in T20 every ball is an event.
Yes.
So even
Correct.
a batsman coming on strike, and there's one final point that I wanted to make. So what happens is that it could encourage non-Mankading, would encourage players to just, in a fast bowler, just leave the ball. And if the non-striker, who is a set batsman or better batsman, so to speak, can just run, they can just tap the ball, and it's a 50-50 thing with the keeper. It adds a lot of pressure on this. So non-Mankading would in fact encourage a batsman to just leave the ball and just in a fast bowler, it could just go back to the keeper, and you have a free run.
So see, if you ask me, that's the exact thing which I spoke to Annie about some time back, right? So imagine this being a test match, and if you're knowing that, there's no run-out penalty or just a 5-run penalty given, for doing that, he might take a chance to change strike over, right, with a lesser batsman.
Absolutely.
So that's something which is adding to confusion, or that is against the spirit of the game. If you ask me, that's kind of meddling with the laws, because that you can't be out. So that's something precisely why there should be a proper clear-cut black and white thing that this is absolutely okay to do it, and coaches of all people should not be preaching that this is unlawful or against the spirit of the game. I feel that that's kind of taking it too far,
especially when they're Australian. Sorry, Australian listeners.
Okay, Annie is on a sledging spree today.
We love how Australia plays, but we don't love it the way they talk about the game, and they kind of think that we know where the line belongs, because different cultures have different interpretation of what the line is.
Interesting.
And often Australians forget that for them, what's banter, what's within what's said within the circle stays within the circle, doesn't quite apply. There are cultures which are far more, I would say, not that open in terms of how things get spoken about and things. So I wouldn't worry about that too much.
Awesome.
One thing in the media, everybody calls it, Mankad, and if a person has actually not done it, he's upheld the spirit of the game. That stigma needs to go. That is ridiculous. That's since he has not Mankad in him, he's upheld the spirit of the game. That's his choice.
Exactly.
Right. He's lost his team an opportunity to gain an upper hand. As a captain, I'd have a conversation with him.
Agreed. Absolutely. Yep.
Cricket has to be played within the laws of the game.
Are you not in the moment?
Because okay, one interesting thing. Sorry. Just before we conclude, I think it was Siddharth who had asked a question. Okay, this is an interesting question, because my personal, view is that why should we even give a warning to a batsman? Because the line belongs to the umpire, right? So there was this kind of connotation a few years back that for running out a batsman like that, you need to give a warning, and that's something which was in the cricketing circles for a long time. Even when we were playing school cricket or club cricket, even some of the umpires, they used to tell us that, did you warn the batsman, or do you really want to appeal? But the point is that why do we need to warn it? Because the wicket keeper doesn't warn the batsman while stumping, right? Or while out. So, or the umpire doesn't warn the bowler that you're overstepping, right? So why should we even warn them, right?
Or that's like bowler expecting the batsman will tell him when he's going to step down the wicket and hoist him over straight. He's like, why are you skipping down? Please warn me so that I can bowl a flatter one. Or something like that.
Let's face it, there's not a lot to do when you're not on strike as a batsman, is there, really? So, you should be able to manage to stay behind the line.
It's simple. The easiest thing for him to do is to just stand within the crease.
Agree. Yeah, you just have one job to do.
Just one job, and you can't even do that.
That's your problem.
With the DRS, I think the non-striker does have,
Oh yeah, he has one more extra job. Yeah, to look at the.
Oh yeah, nowadays.
See, the game has changed. So there's a lot going on, right?
Half of the pressure on Marnus Labuschagne is to know whether Steve Smith is hit in front of the pads or just outside or things like that.
Agree.
The joke on Shane Watson, right? Invariably, he would review Plum, don't review Shane. So
Yeah.
Because he would invariably be dead Plum and still review it.
Yeah. Watson wanted to make sure if it's hitting the middle of middle stump or no. So, so interesting. So Annie, before we conclude, James Anderson 600 wickets. How's the mood in England? I mean, it's an amazing achievement. We genuinely feel that it's happened in Test cricket after a long time that somebody has breached that barrier. And
isn't he a star? I mean, what did he start in 2003 or something? So,
Yep.
To be a fast bowler, to have your run up and your action criticised and changed, and still to come in and play so many tests and still be running in and getting that swing and that, it's just an incredible achievement, and we are absolutely honoured to be watching him play.
I'm glad you mentioned about the action change and stuff. I read a story somewhere that he was sent to, I think, Troy Cooley, if I'm not wrong, to kind of work upon his action, and they mentioned that it's very complicated and injury prone. And they wanted to change it. And when he actually tried to change it, he was not getting swing, he was not getting wickets. And then he said that, just stuck it. I don't mind being injury prone. Let me go back to my original action.
Yeah, and look, I mean, he's still here so many years later.
Exactly, right?
Yeah, no, absolute star. And him and Broad together are a formidable opening partnership, the likes of which we may never, ever see again.
Agreed. Yeah.
True. Very true.
But never say never. There was a man who said never when he'd got 300 wickets, and you see.
Okay, well, we might see even better, hey?
But I think, these two guys are absolute treasures of the game, I'd say. I mean, one of the most unfortunate things I've seen recently in the media is, the moment James Anderson breached the 600 mark, right? People had come up with their averages and strike rates and whatnot to show there have been 3 or 4 other bowlers who were better or who could have got as many wickets as James Anderson did and things like that. I was like, guys, for God's sake, there's somebody who's breached that mark, and today is the occasion for you to celebrate
it.
Exactly.
Let's celebrate it because everybody's given their own circumstances, their own situations, and you got to perform given those situations and circumstances, right? I mean, Jimmy bowls in England where the ball swings, but there have been hundreds of other bowlers who bowled in similar circumstances. You can beat the bat, but to get the edge of the bat is where the art really lies, and this man does it better than everybody else. So, hail Jimmy, he's a treasure of the game, and Stuart Broad as well.
Agreed. Yeah, and I think the same argument applies to Ashwin as well. Sorry to bring him back in the discussion here. So, I mean, everybody talks about him being a home track bully, but the point is, you could have conditions in your favor, but if you don't know how to use them, you are using the bowler, right?
Always love watching Ashwin.
Exactly, right? So, I mean, I think somewhere we need to kind of stop this comparisons and analysis of digging too much into numbers. Somewhere just enjoy the game, enjoy the sport, right? Enjoy what they bring to the table. And honestly, like Yogesh mentioned, it's, everybody can know how to swing a ball, but how to land it in the right spot and how to induce the edge or, get the
time and again. Yeah,
exactly.
Time and again,
That's a skill. That's a skill which not everybody has. And 600 is no joke, right? It's not a joke at all.
It's a hell of a lot wickets.
Yeah, I've only got 6.
Yeah.
And so Venu, I think you'd posted that 60% of his wickets came in England. So 60% of 600 still takes you to 360 wickets, and that is mind-boggling.
Mind-boggling, right? Exactly, right? Absolutely, agree. Yep. Awesome. So, guys, thank you very much. Thank you, Annie. Thank you, Bhash. Loved the conversation. Enjoyed each and every point that you brought out today. And again, thank you for your audience, to our audience as well. Some interesting comments and questions. So let's hope that in the future, mankading / runout incidents, we don't have, this kind of a social stigma attached to it, and it's accepted as a form of a dismissal. And I hope there are some campaigns organized by the ICC and other boards as well to kind of remove the stigma out of the game and make it a legitimate part of the game as well. So thank you, everybody, and have a great Saturday. Look forward to being in touch. Bye bye.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye.